Hello, my name is Zach, and I'm from Metrue. This is our integration sphere installation video. So we at Metrue provide a complete system, and that means that we provide everything you need in order to do LM79 testing. So to begin with, we'll just start with the equipment that you should check that you have everything before you start putting it together. So of course you need the sphere, and then over here we have all of the individual pieces. So down here we have the power meter, we have DC power supply, spectral radiometer, AC power supply. On top here I have the hinges for the sphere. Currently it is locked shut here by these brass plates, and you can't open the sphere. So eventually we'll have to take those off and put in the hinges. Okay, and then next to the hinges we have the thermometer. The panels that go over the hinges are there. Here's our electrical cable that will eventually connect the cabinet to the sphere. This is the auxiliary lamp baffle. This is the baffle for the spectral radiometer. This is the mounting for standard light sources. This is connects to this baffle to hold it in place. Gloves, auxiliary lamp for self-absorption calibration. We have an optical cable here. This is the Metrue flash drive that will have the drivers and software and instruction manual on it. Here we have a cover for the top of the sphere where the electrical cable connects to this piece. Here's the cover for the optical cable. These will connect to the cabinet eventually for putting all of our electrical components together so that you can measure everything on your computer. And then I have a bunch of cables here. So here is a RS-232 to USB adapter, just a USB for spectral radiometer to computer. I have a couple, and then the rest here are power supply cables, and then a 3-to-1 RS-232. This is just like a surge protector. Here's our cabinet where we will eventually put all of our pieces of equipment. And then over here I have a few tools that I will need to put the sphere together. So I have a step-up ladder, which will be useful for the electrical cable. I have a 3/16 wrench, flathead screwdriver, Phillips screwdriver, a standard set Allen head set, Sharpie and tape if you want to label your wiring inside, and then I use a clamp sometimes to help with attaching the integration sphere hinges, so hold it together while I put the hinge in place. And then finally you'll need a computer. I have one over there. That's all that you will need to put the sphere system together. Next, we will show you how to install the cabinet. So this is our cabinet. As you can see, we have 4 slots. We have power meter here, I think AC power supply, spectral radiometer, DC power supply. To begin with, I'm going to remove all of the things so that we can install everything easily. So the doors, or the side panels rather, come off pretty easily. Push this, it should fall out by the top. And you have to pick it up because there's a couple of nubs on the bottom that hold it in there. We're going to do the same with the other side. And then for the back door, it's similar. If I push in here, turn the handle, it opens up on a hinge. You can see here that there are a pair of keys. You can use those to lock the cabinet if you don't want people having access to the instruments. I'm going to pull the door all the way off for now. And that's done just by pushing this down and then sliding it out and pulling it up. There's another on the bottom. So as you can see, there are already, we will pre-install all of these cables to make it slightly easier. and all of these shelves will already be in there, although you may have to adjust the level of the shelf and the actual, like, how level the shelf is. So I guess we could add to our tool list and add a level in there. For me, they're already leveled, but you can adjust it. There's a screw here and a bolt on the back. That's what we need the 3/16 inch for, wrench for. But I'm not going, they're all fine for me. So finally, we have to pull these rails off of the front. So these rails will prevent the instruments from sliding out the front. So we need to pull them out. If you look here, there are 3 Phillip head screws. So I pull this in. Actually, we only have 1 because I pulled out the other 2 earlier, but when you perform this installation, all 3 should be there. Oops. I'll pick that up in a minute. This rail slides out and lifts up. You can see that there is a nub here, and it fits into the hole at the bottom of the system. Okay, and then we need to do the same with the other side. Sometimes the screws get stuck in here, so the other one. Okay, so I'm going to set the screws down somewhere where I will remember where I put them. And then we now have to actually take out these cross panels. There are 3 of them, and they also help prevent the meter, the power supplies, the power meter, and the spectral radiometer from falling out. Okay, so I'm going to start with the power meter, which goes on top. I'm going to slide it all the way in. Make sure that the feet don't get stuck on the shelf. And then eventually we can put screws in here to hold it in place. And the rail will also push up against it to hold it in place. So next is the DC power supply. Okay. Third will be the spectroradiometer. We got slightly tight fit here. Let's see. Oh, and my feet got stuck actually in a hole. Be careful of that. It should. Slide in. Okay, so now I can stick the 4 panels back on. They're all identical size, so it doesn't matter what order you put it on, or like if you accidentally forgot which was where, it doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be super tight, but it should be snug. Okay, so now that our power supplies, power meter, and spectroradiometer are installed, they're all screwed in with the nylon washers behind to protect the paint. We can reinstall our rails. So give me a moment. Okay, so if you remember, each of these rails has 3 screws. I have to align the nub down there. Should slide on. And then back here, there are 3 slots for the screws. This might seem obvious, but it should be flat here, and then the bevel is on the inside. That's the only way it will fit anyway, because of the nubbin at the bottom, it'll look funky, it'll hang out if it's on the wrong side. Okay, so now that our rails are attached to the front, all of our instruments are installed, we can start connecting all the wires. So here you can see that I labeled them with the blue tape, or the masking tape. You might have to follow it down to find if it's positive or negative. Black for negative, red for positive at the bottom down here. I have a blue wire for my amp meter, a red wire for my voltmeter. So I'll start there. I'll pull this out, get it in there. My DC power supply is a little bit more obvious. It's just red and black cable. Okay. For AC power supply, it's just that standard United States plug. We have a universal adapter here, though, so it shouldn't matter what type that you have. Okay, so now we just have to connect in the communication and power. So I'll be right back. So the power strip, I'm going to feed this guy down through here and then out the bottom. Okay. 3-to-1 RS-232, if I could get it out of my tangle. Let's see. So you want the one side on the outside, and then the other three will all connect to one of the systems. So one of the power meters. One to the DC power supply. One to the AC power supply. Let's see. Okay. The spectral radiometer uses a USB. Okay. So now I plug in the power cables. Okay, I have a thermometer here. Just gonna set it this end on the shelf for the time being. Okay, plug in the spectral radiometer where it says temperature input. And I have my fiber optic cable, which also plugs into the spectral radiometer. This long end on this side. It will only fit in one way, so just rotate it until it slides all the way in. Then put the stopper on the back. This end, I will wait until I reinstall the door. So I'm just going to set it down here for now. Okay, the last part is the wiring down on the outside. For wiring the cabinet, we need to connect the power supply to the load, and then we also need to connect the power meter to the load. So to do that, we need to connect the power supply through the amp meter in series to the load and then back. And then the voltmeter needs to be parallel. So voltmeter is easy because there are two lines to the load. All I have to do is connect it such like this, such that I'm measuring the voltage across the load, but not directly from the power supply. Inside the sphere, I'll attach an image. You have to short the two lines so that they're connected across the load. So then for the power supply, I can go from AC out or DC out, either one is fine, depending on what you need for your lamp, to the amp meter, to the load, and then the negative from the load to the negative for the power supply. For hooking up the auxiliary lamp, you do not need to measure the voltage across it, so just go straight, or the current across it, just go straight from DC out to auxiliary lamp. That is it for wiring this cabinet, and right after this video I'll attach an image of, or a schematic of this, as well as an image of inside the sphere where you should short the lines. Thank you. something might be in the way. It should close pretty easy. It's lined up right. There we go. So we gotta get the knobs at the bottom in. Should close. I can click these down. Okay, the door's locked. I'm gonna put on this door. Same way I took it off. We just have this here, line the knob at the bottom. Okay, so now all of the cables that we want out, we can pull out through here, or there's a few on the side, depending on where your cabinet is in relation to your sphere. We are just going to pull everything out through here. So here's the one end of my RS-232. Here's USB. I need to pull my thermometer out. And finally, I need my optical cable. So I'm going to now place this over the top here, slide it all the way down, and then tighten my locking screw. Okay, doesn't need to be too tight. And I'm going to shut this door now, make sure I don't crimp any cables, and lock it. And we're done with the cabinet part. It is now ready to operate. Okay, so we finished the cabinet. Now we need to install the sphere system, or at least prepare it for measurement. So when you receive it, you will notice that on the back here, we have these metal plates. These prevent the sphere from opening during shipping. So we need to remove the plates and put on the hinges instead so that we can open it from the other side. You might notice that there will be black plates over the top of here that you have to remove and that we will replace once the hinges are there. So removing is fairly easy. It's just Allen head. Yep, I got the 5mm. Whoops. You'll note that these screws are actually different from the screws that we will use for the hinges. So you actually don't need to keep them if you don't wish. So I'm actually going to put the hinge on before I take this one off so that the sphere doesn't fall apart. It won't fall apart, but it might open a little bit, which might make this part harder. These are the screws that go in the hinge. You can see that they're beveled. So, forgot different. Okay, so the hinges are now attached. I'll now replace the black covers. Okay, and then just do the same thing for the other three. 1, 2, 3. Then. Okay, so now that the sphere hinges are attached, we can open it, which is just this handle here. Roll it open. As you can see, none of the baffles are installed, so we will start with the auxiliary lamp baffle, which is this small one. I have these 2 small screws, which will go in through here. And the lamp mounts on this steel plate. Here, you can see the 2 holes that the screws screw into. It's a little bit of a tight fit to get your hand in there, but it's not impossible. Okay, so as you can see, the baffle is installed in there. So now we're ready to install the auxiliary lamp, which never needs to come out again. When we install the auxiliary lamp, I'm going to wear gloves so that I don't get it dirty or my finger oils on it. We provide the gloves. There's white cotton gloves. I'll show you in a minute. It's just these gloves here. You can use your own gloves if you wish, just make sure they're clean. The auxiliary lamp is provided in a bag like this. This box, it just has 2 leads. It's a fairly typical lamp. There's information about it here. And it will fit into the 2 sockets behind our baffle. Try to, if you can see them there. Just make sure it's snugly in place, and that's it. Auxiliary lamp is installed. Alright, so we installed the baffle here. We're now ready to, or the auxiliary lamp baffle and the auxiliary lamp. So we're now ready to install the primary light source baffle, which attaches up here. I'll note now that you can attach the mount for the light source to the bottom or the top, but the baffle always attaches to the top. So to start, I think it is easiest to first put a screw, at least one, through the top here. Okay, I'm just going to leave it like that for a second and retrieve my baffle holder, which is this piece here. There are 3 holes pre-drilled and threaded here that the screw will attach to. So we'll try not to hit the side of the sphere wall to align this. Okay. Now I have one, it'll stay there on its own, and I can get my other 3 screws, or other 2 screws, and attach them. Okay, so our mount is attached here. It's wiggles a little bit just because of how long it is, but it's pretty stable. So we need to attach the actual baffle itself. You will see here that there's a small locking ring. I don't know if you can see in the film this little indent, but it's there, I promise you. And this screw will lock into that to prevent it from falling down. So I will place it like this. The baffle should be facing the light source. And then the 1.5 millimeter Allen wrench will tighten the screw. Make sure the baffle should be normal to the light source. So, just how it's mounted here. That's how you would think it would be mounted. Okay, and it doesn't have to be overly tight. It should just be fairly stable. That's it for the baffle. We can now mount our light source mount. You will see down here is the same as the top. It will be hard for the camera to capture what I'm doing at the top, but you have this wing nut, and you can tighten or loosen it. If you pull out, you can adjust its placement without tightening or loosening. And we will first want to loosen, and then we can tighten it later once the mount is in there. And you will see this electrical cable here. It will plug into the bottom of our mount. I'll show you the other side in a second. If you want to mount it in the bottom, you'd pull out this, but we don't need it. So we're going to mount it in the top, up there. It's the same process. So this is our light source mount. This here is where I would have attached that cable down there, except I'm going to use the one at the top. And then this is adjustable here so that you can position the light source in the center of the sphere. Okay, and then as I showed you before, this up here is the same. So I'm going to push it all the way up. I don't know if you can see, but then I'm going to tighten it with this wing nut here. I'm going to make it pretty tight. And it's stable on the inside. I can't pull it down. Just to be safe, I will tighten it a little bit more. Okay. And then this here is our electrical wires. It should now you have to align it so that the 4 pins are correctly lined up so that will fit in. There we go. Give me a minute, I'll be right back. This blue cover goes over the top, just like that, and these 2 wing nuts with the screws attached will lock it in place. Okay, so that is it for the inside of our sphere. We are now free to mount a light source if we wish, but for now I'm just going to close it. We still have to connect our cabinet. Okay, so we are now ready to connect our cabinet to the sphere. So to start with, I guess I'll start with the temperature, the thermometer. So I have this. There's a plug here that I need to unscrew, take out, place it there for now. This just slides in and then screws in the same way I just unscrewed the other one. Okay, you'll notice that there are a couple different ports here. I only need the center one. These are for different pieces of equipment. If you have a photometer instead of a spectral radiometer, or however, whatever, we have 3 different sizes for you to use. So now that this is attached, I can place on the cover. It's just like the top. I need to align these slits with this, not to crimp the cable. On, tighten the wing nuts. There's one on each side. Okay, you can pull out this cap. Take my optical cable. It should slide right in to the sphere. You can't twist it, well you can twist it a little bit, but it should be pretty snug. So I'll then put this over top, screw it tight. We're good. Maybe tighten my wing nuts a little bit more. Okay, and the last part is, I need my electrical cable. I'll be right back. This electrical cable is what will power or lead the power to our auxiliary lamp and our standard light source. It connects to the bottom here. There's a port. It says interconnect cable. Twist it until it slides on easily. Can lock it there. The other end is here. Same type of port. Lock it on. Okay, and we are now almost ready. Now we can connect. Well, I guess first we should probably power all of our equipment. And plug in our connectors to the computer. So I have one USB and then the RS-232. If your computer does not have an RS-232 port, you'll have to use an adapter. And you just plug it in over here. We are now ready to install the software on our computer. And we'll be right back. Thank you. Okay, one last thing. I have a couple of extra pieces of equipment, including those metal plates earlier. If you want to keep them, there is a storage thing here. So you can see here we have a couple different rods, some different light source mounting systems, or adapters rather. And I'm just going to place these in here for now. And if I need them later, then we have them, and they're easy to find. And the next thing we'll do is install the software on our computer. Alright, so this is the software installation part of the video. We have already completed assembling the sphere and cabinet and connecting them together. So for what we now need is installation of the software and then the first calibration in order to use the sphere for testing purposes. So I'm first going to note that this software, it works fine with anything that is Windows XP or greater. This computer here is Windows 10 and it works fine on it. However, there are a couple issues that I discovered when installing the software on here, which are easily solvable. So for whatever reason, Windows 10 did not want to recognize our drivers as signed by Microsoft. So I had to restart the computer in signature enforcement disabled mode. So to do that, you can click on the little Windows menu, hold Shift, click Power, keep holding Shift, and click Restart. It will then prompt you through a thing where it'll say it'll ask you for your startup configuration, and it will only start up this way once, so you need to go through, you can hit troubleshoot, and then you'll hit startup behavior, and then you'll hit number 7 for disable signature enforcement. And if for whatever reason you run into the same issue with Windows 8, it is similar, but you can't hold Shift and hit the restart button. Instead, you have to go through the computer settings menu, and other than that, it's the same. So for now, I have connected my Metrue USB. So here, I'll open this, close it, reopen it. I'm going to open my Firewall Explorer. You will want to go to your Metrue flash drive, assuming that you plug it into the USB port. Click it, and then here you'll see a number of files. So the first is the spectral radiometer driver software, or drivers. Next is the spectral radiometer software. Next is your standard lamp file that we will provide with the standard lamp. And then finally you will have a manual to the spectral radiometer. So to start, I'm just going to click on the software here. I'm going to hit setup.x. It will ask if it's okay. Hit yes. And in a second, it should open. It opens the setup wizard. So the first screen will ask you where you want to install the software. For me, the default directory is fine. I'm just going to hit next. Next. Okay, the software is installed. Windows 10 has prompted the shortcut for the Start menu screen, which can also be found through the Start menu. So Apps, scroll to M, Metrue, HPA. Yes. So it's telling me it can't find the calibration file. That is okay. I have not yet calibrated it. And here's the software. So for now, we actually are not ready to use the software. But here you'll see that there's these three things. Later there'll be a fourth, and it'll say self-absorption. So I'm going to exit out. Alright, so the first thing I want to check is if my HVA has connected to my computer successfully. So I need to open the device manager, which can be opened through the control panel, or for me, I'm just going to right click the start menu here, device manager. So for me, it looks like it has automatically connected. If I look under universal serial bus controllers, HVA is here. If it did not automatically connect under other devices, you'll get a little icon and it will say like unknown device or something, and there'll be a little exclamation mark such as this one. If that's the case, then you need to tell it where to find the proper drivers. So you can do that by right-clicking the icon. You can either go to Properties or just go straight to Update Driver Software. Browse My Computer. Browse. Okay, so then you need to find your Metrue flash drive and then click the driver folder and hit OK. And for me, it's saying it's already there and that it's working fine. So I'll hit close. You may also want to check for your RS-232 converter. If it's not working, it will also show up here. Actually, I'm not totally sure what this is because I don't have anything plugged in that's not working to my knowledge. And then the RS-232 converter drivers, since we don't provide the converter, we don't provide the driver, you will have to get that from the manufacturer. And typically you can find those on their website. So I'm done here. You can exit. The next thing you'll want to do is you'll want to put your standard lamp calibration file into the directory of the HPA software. So for me, I'm going to need two of these open. So here's one. Let's open another one. I'm going to go to my Metrue. Here is my standard lamp folder. They'll always be labeled .lamp. And I wish to stick that. Let's see. This is not the right location. This is the flash drive. Metrue, HPA, under lamp. I'll take this guy, copy it, paste it in here. Okay, that is all I need to do for that. Later when I use the software, it will have the calibration lamp folder automatically uploaded for me. And we'll show that in the calibration section of this video. So for the last part, I want to turn on the self-absorption function. So that is also found in here. You will find it under a file called mode.dac. Let's see. I said mod.dat. So you can open this with Notepad. And you will see all of these things here. So what you want to do is self mode K, turn from off to on. File, save, exit. That's all you need to do there. And we should be ready to open the software now. Yes, it's just asking if I want to allow it to make changes to my computer. Still can't find the calibration file, which is still fine because I still have not calibrated. Hit OK. You will see that I now have a self-absorption here. We do not need to worry about that yet. So the first thing you want to do is system startup. And you'll want to make sure that everything is connected correctly. So this should be default. There's nothing you need to do here. But the power meter, DS300, for me, I have it to COM3. I think that's correct, but I can check by going back to my device manager. If I look at ports, I have a prolific USB to serial COM port. This is my RS-232 adapter, COM3. So this is correct. For you, it might be a different port. But for me, the first guess was the correct one. That's all I need to do there. So then when you do go later to power on your standard lamp, which will be your DC power supply, make sure that this is at 3. Otherwise, when you try to set it or read it, it won't. It will say communication failure. So AS power supply is identical. It should be COM3 because all of them are connected to that 3-to-1 RS-232 cable. Exit. So that is all for the software installation. It's not too difficult. In the next part of the video, we will do calibration. Alright, so this is the calibration part of the video. For the first part, we need to install the calibration lamp. So to do so, you have to wear gloves to avoid putting any dirt or oil on the calibration lamp. And this is the lamp that we provide. It is the total spectral flux calibration lamp, S1500. It's calibrated based on the primary NIST lamp. This serial number needs to be the same as the calibration file shown, or the lamp file shown in the last part of the video. So here is the lamp. I'm going to set it down for a sec. Okay, so it's just a standard thread here. And we're going to put it in here. It comes with the proper adapter. Make sure it's tight so it doesn't fall out. And that's it. So now that it's installed, we need to be sure that the proper power supply is plugged into the lamp. So that's done over here. Right now it's plugged in the wrong one. It's plugged in the AC. I need to plug it into DC. And that is all there is to it. So our lamp is mounted. I would like to note now that the DC power supply should be turned on before you mount the lamp, because when you turn it on, there is the potential for it to send a surge through, and the lamp is fairly fragile. And for it to keep its calibrated, or for the lamp to keep its own calibration, then it's important to keep any such surges from hitting it. So in most cases it would be fine, but just to be safe, always turn on the power supply before you connect the lamp. So my DC power supply is turned on, and my lamp is mounted. So I am now able to power it by going to Analysis, DS300 or DS1200, COM3. We can read it. It should say 0. Good. I want to choose my set voltage, which you should, by the way, set it to current. And for my lamp, my calibrated current is 4.8390, and we will send you this information. It should be on the box of the calibration lamp. And then my calibrated voltage is 20.89. However, I have to set it slightly higher, or it won't turn on. So because I've set it here, it keeps the current the same always, and then the voltage will be whatever the voltage ends up being, which should be very close to the reference voltage, which for me is 20. So I'm going to actually put it to, let's say 24.89. It's 4 volts higher. So if I set, it should be on. I'm going to check real quick and open the sphere. Okay, so the lamp is turned on. Typically it takes about 30 minutes for it to warm up such that it outputs light at the calibrated level. So we will have to now wait for it to warm up. So we'll just wait for 30 minutes, and I'll be back in 30 minutes. Close this, it doesn't affect the power supply at all. Alright, so it has been just over 30 minutes since I turned the lamp on. Over is fine. Under is... you shouldn't go under. So, let's see. Minimize this guy. And, sorry. And we're ready to do the calibration. So it is important to first hit the remote button on the HPA, or it won't go. So over here on the HPA 400, on the 300 it's automatically remote. 400 you have to hit the on the touch screen, the very last bottom button says remote. Okay, so I can now hit spectrum calibration. You'll see here that I can input the data for my lamp, or I can choose a lamp file. So here you just have to hit whatever calibration type it is, which for us it's flux, and then you can put in the information automatically, or as I showed you earlier during the software installation and setup, you can hit lamp file, and I can choose the one here. So I only have one lamp file. This is the same serial number as my calibration lamp. So I can select that one, and that's it. You can hit start. And I can hear HPA running, and it will stop and finish when it's done on its own. You don't need to hit the stop button. You just need to let it do its thing. Oh, I did make one mistake. I am going to stop it. Because that was a good note so that you don't make the same in the future. It has to run through its filters, calibration complete. It's not actually. I need to hit all mode calibration here. Now I can start. And again, it will stop when it's done. And then while it's running, you can see up here what it's doing on their state. It will tell you. So the color refers to the color filter that it's currently using in this spectroradiometer. Those are used for precise mode. In fast mode, there is no filter. Okay, calibration complete. Hit OK. Make sure you save your file before you exit. Are you sure? Yes. Save. Okay, I can now exit, and I can now take a measurement. So hopefully my measurement here will be the same as my standard lamp once it's done. Okay, so this is our measurement of the calibration lamp. Our flux here is 2306.7. Our calibrated standard lamp is calibrated to a total luminance flux of 2305.6, so that is under 1%. That is a very good calibration. And that is it for the installation of an integrating sphere. If you have any questions, please feel free to call Metrue or call me. My phone number here at Metrue is 510-335-9257. You can also send an email to support@metrue.com. And other than that, your sphere should be installed and you are ready to take measurements. Thank you, and please contact us if you have any questions. Bye.